Okay, before we get into the weeds, I want to give you guys my exact perspective so you know where I'm coming from. I haven't read the manga, and I haven't finished the anime yet either. I'm actually just wrapping up the Dressrosa arc right now, so I have a massive appreciation for how massive this world gets, the insane Haki battles, and villains like Doflamingo Punt. I'm looking at this live action run with fresh eyes on a fairly early Grand Line material. Season 1 had the monumental task of introducing the crew and proving this adaptation wasn't going to be a complete disaster. Season 2 has a completely different job, proving they can handle the weirdness of the Grand Line. Right out of the gate, we hit Loguetown. This was the perfect bridge between the East Blue and the Grand Line. The showrunners nailed the atmosphere here. Seeing the execution platform where Gold Roger died in live action gave it this heavy historical weight. And we have to talk about Smoker. Bringing a character who literally turns into smoke into live action could have looked like a cheap late 90s sci-fi channel movie. Thankfully, the visual effects team stepped up. Smoker feels like a genuine, relentless threat, and his dynamic with Luffy translates perfectly to the screen. Once they actually make it up Reverse Mountain and hit the Grand Line, the pacing of the show shifts. If you know the anime, you know the Alabasta saga is packed with islands: Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island. Adapting all of this into a single season of a Netflix show means making brutal cuts. I know some hardcore purists are going to be frustrated by what got condensed or skipped entirely to keep the plot moving. But looking at it purely as a Netflix show, the pacing works. They kept the core emotional beats intact without letting the story drag. A huge part of that success comes down to how they handled Baroque Works. Finally get to see a massive organized crime syndicate working in the shadows. The agents we meet on Whiskey Peak and Little Garden bring a totally different type of danger than what we saw with Arlong in Season 1. The show does a great job of building up the paranoia that anyone could be a bounty hunter, and it sets up Crocodile as this massive, untouchable mob boss in the background. But the make or break moment of Season 2 is Drum Island. This arc is the emotional core of the season, and it's where we get introduced to Chopper. Translating a blue-nosed reindeer who ate a human fruit into live action was the biggest hurdle this show faced. They had to balance the CGI and practical effects so he didn't look terrifying, but also didn't look like a cartoon character pasted onto the screen. I think they found a solid middle ground. He feels tangible, and more importantly, the emotional weight of his backstory with Dr. Huralik, hope I said that right, hits exactly as hard as it needs to. You really feel the isolation and the tragedy of his past. When you look at the season as a whole, it successfully expands the world while keeping the focus on the crew's dynamic. The Grand Line feels dangerous, unpredictable, and weird. And I want to make this super clear. No matter what you think of the show personally, I think if you're someone who's interested in stepping into the One Piece series but don't have the time for the anime that's over 1,000 episodes or the over 100 volume manga, it's definitely a great introduction to the series. It completely bypasses the massive barrier to entry. You get the world building, you get the emotional attachments to the crew, and you get the core story beats without having to dedicate months of your life to catch up, like myself. Season 2 proves that the live action format has legs. Now, as someone currently watching the chaos of Dressrosa, I'm dying to see how they're going to handle the sheer scale of the later arcs. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you thought of how they handled the Grand Line. Did they do Chopper justice? Let's talk about it. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.